My name is Gregory.
So my name is Frank Roger.
Hi, I'm Kerry Chandler and I'm a producer and DJ and just having some fun.
Well, my name is JJ.
I'm Timmy Vegas from Soul Central, from the geographical musical centre of the University of Birmingham, UK.
Hi, I'm Dimitri from Paris.
House music, man, it's a way of life. House music itself, the genre itself, it's a culture. This is a lifestyle.
Chicago is really the first thing that comes to mind, you know, because I think that's where it really, where the name came from, you know. So.
House music is just a word coined by a journalist. It's just like dance music to me. I was DJing like about 25 years. And for me, it's only dance music. Whatever makes the people dance is what I play. And, you know, they call it house music to look good, but, you know, I do play house music too. But I don't really mind by the names.
It's funny, I was thinking about this, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. People are saying people can get really involved in what they actually think it is and just stop enjoying it. I was actually with Larry Heard last night, and he was saying he was playing in Canada and he had all these people, instead of dancing, they were coming up to him and just asking him all these questions about the way he makes the music and stuff, which he thinks is great, but he wanted to see them dancing. It was a club, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, he was getting into it, and he wanted to see them enjoying it as well. And these guys are, you know, absolute fans, fanatics, so much so that they had to know all the ins and outs, but they were thinking about it too much, and they weren't enjoying it. So to me, house music is just a good time.
Too much analysing.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's great because people love it, and they just want to get more and more and more involved, which is perfect, you know. But it's, at the end of the day, it's fun. It's what people love, and they go out to after a week of work or whatever, and they enjoy themselves too. That's what it is to me.
House music is nothing and everything. You know, it's music. It's only music. It's from, for me, it's from electro, rock, hip hop, jazz, soul, till maybe what we say house music with the BPM, more punchy, but house music for me it's nothing.
It's funny how you sort of fall into the category of saying that it's a lifestyle, and when that sentiment comes around, it most definitely is. It's not something that you grow to like. It's just something that just grabs you. It's hard to explain, man. I can't put it into words. House music, it's just there. You either live it or you don't. You either feel it or you don't. And it sounds cool, but that's just the way it is.
It goes back to that old cliche term, house is a feeling. And it's all about the feeling. It's all about the emotion. And you get that when you go to house parties.
You have several definitions, but they said house music is a feeling.
House music has been described as a feeling. I think it's just the perfect music for dancing all night long, bringing people together. And often in the right clubs, the right DJs and the right people, it can be a beautiful thing.
started before it was called house music, because in New York the club culture was they were just coming out of the disco scene, and they refused to call the dance music. They didn't want to call it disco anymore, so they just called it club music. You know, so in the early '80s, we had hip hop in New York that was was the burgeoning thing underground, and I was too young at the time to go to disco clubs or the Paradise Garage in New York or anything. So I used to just listen to the hip hop on the radio. And again, it was all mixed with the club music for us at the time. So it was easy for me to go from hip hop to club music, house music. You know,
transition.
it was. As I got older, I think my taste just got a little bit more refined. You know what I mean? So I kind of got stuck. I stuck with the house music. So it was something that became a little bit more my taste. You know, my lifestyle also.
In Chicago and New York, such with DJs like Ron Hardy, Frankie Knuckles, Larry Levan, you know, guys like that.
Music from Chicago, like tracks and DJ International, which was hip house, DJ Fast Eddie, and that's how I got into the sound of house music, which at the time I didn't know if it had any place where I was, to tell the truth.
And it was a mixture of both. It was a mixture of both hip hop and house together. So just that fusion alone, like I was listening to Audio 2, Biz Markie mixed with D-Light, those guys, you know, stuff like that. And listening to DJs like Junior Vasquez, John Robinson on the radio, you know, Darryl James, it's what really got me into the whole thing. I think radio played a big part in it, like Kiss FM back home, 98.7 Kiss FM, and WBLS were two big stations for me that played a lot of great house music that we consider classics today, you know, Tony Humphries, stuff like that, you know, that was on the radio at the time, so, you know,
World Class Wrecking Crew comes to mind, the group that had Dre in it, you know, like back in the day. But anyway, like, you know, so I started getting into that. Then I started DJing parties and events for, you know, schools. I was still in high school, grade 11, 12. Then I moved to San Francisco for college, continued DJing college, and just kind of slowly but surely migrated towards this music. You know, it was all dance music based. It was just that early sort of, I don't know, it's like, you know, pre-hip hop, kind of almost like, not pre-hip hop, but it was almost like hip house, electro-ish, but not like electro like today, like what we called electro back then. And sort of late disco influenced stuff, but so, you know, it took me a while. And being on the West Coast, I mean, the house music and certainly disco, but, you know, house music per se in the mid-'80s was a bit more prevalent in New York or on the East Coast than it was on the West Coast. You know, we were still, you know, radio and stuff was still all about like pop and the early hip hop, and not even radio early hip hop, but pop and rock. I mean, basically it was, you know, the MTV generation of the hair bands and the 80s rock.
Well, I mean, I started playing funk hip hop like in about 85, 86, so house music wasn't even coined as a word nor as a type of music. I was just buying, you know, electro funk, early hip hop, whatever you call it. We used to call it dance music, and then, you know, we heard the first records out of Chicago, and the term house music was firstly coined in the press and stuff. And for me, it was a good mix of what I like disco, a bit of a more edgy electronic sound, and quite good vocalists. And I sort of embraced the sound as the new sound of disco. And I think just house music is really, I mean, somebody said it's disco on a budget. It is true, you know, disco used to have like whole orchestras playing string sections, horn sections. It was quite an expensive music to make. And you know, the people from Chicago didn't have much of a budget at the time. They were trying to reproduce that music with you know, a couple of cheap bought drum machines and stuff and synths. And it gave them the sound that they could just afford, and it was a different sound that caught the ears of the rest of the world. But, you know, I still love house music, but I still love my disco. I'm trying to produce current disco with the budget that I can manage to find and the musicians that I can find today, or remix old disco cuts, or just produce new stuff. So I think it's great that music can evolve. I just think that, like I said, the word house music means just too many things today, and just if I say I like house music to someone, he'll say, oh yeah, you like the same kind of what I like. Like, it can be techno, it can be just commercial vocal stuff, it can be anything really. So I just like stuff that's just like, basically I like disco and whatever forms of disco, and you can find whether slow or up tempo.
Yeah, it's more like just music. What happened was early on you could play everything, and that's all it's been, and it just kind of did this split into two different genres.
Good time for music. It was a good time for the music, good time for the disco, the funk. I grew up with funk, with the preludes, things, you know, Larry Levin stuff. And yeah, step by step, I came into house music. But I heard some stuff that sounds like house music, but the name wasn't house music. You know, it was like big hits like Break for Love, you know, big hit. And at this time the radios played that kind of track. It was the good year for house music, so yeah, house is always inside of me.
I was in New York when it was all about to blow up here, in '88. Well, when I can remember it blowing up, and I just seemed like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I had a bit of kind of commercials, not commercial success. I was writing some music that was using an off-Broadway play. I think I was 18, so I was really like, wow, this is great. I'm in the Big Apple, and you know, maybe something could happen for me in the music game. But all this kind of like, the same kind of excitement I can remember that happened with punk, because I was like buying punk records when I was like 6 and 7, and like then the reggae sound system thing, and I felt there was a whole movement about to happen that was right for me at that time, because I was too young for the punk thing, even though I was into it. I was like, you know, so I just thought, you know, I got to get back to the UK, and got back, and there was just like fields going on in parties. No, there was like 2 people in Birmingham probably had a mobile phone, and we get these Spectrum flyers with phone this number for these, and we're like, well, what's going on here? It looks like it's going to be fantastic, Helter Skelter and all this Spectrum, but where's the party? I can't believe they haven't put the venue on the flyer. And then it was all ring mobile phones, and it was like, you know, £2 a minute, me to Oxford services, meet here, meet there, and then you'd end up in a field with like all these people, you know, on various hallucinogenic products, and it was just like our Woodstock, or, you know, I just remember that being really, really exciting.
House music to me was actually something that I was kind of introduced to a bit later than most of the house heads in a way, because I was actually more into the old school jungle drum and bass kind of thing. And about '97 I was introduced to house music. I guess before I was really into house music, I perceived it as something a little bit cheesy maybe, I don't know, and it was a bad misconception on my behalf, because I didn't really understand the true underground and proper house music. I was more just, all I kind of knew at that point was the more commercial stuff. And then when a few people like a guy called Nigel Wildman and Phil Asher, they introduced me to real underground house, and that kind of opened my ears, and there was certain records which kind of really made me, you know, were poignant records which made me think, right, this is what I want to do. Like Melissa Morgan, Still in Love, Masters at Work remix on that one. It was something that really, like, yeah, some old Motor Swing stuff. We used to actually, every week, we used to just go through old records. It was like schooling for me. It was like education, you know? And that was kind of really how I got into it. And then I was working with house music as well, so I was promoting records for Virgin, so it was like I was working with a lot of house music, and just started playing it, and I love it now, man. I feel like, you know, it's kind of the music which is most in my heart, you know. Yeah, definitely. It's a great scene, you know. It's not the biggest scene, especially the soulful scene, but everyone who's in it is very much, you know, with the right frame of mind and the right attitude towards it. It's not really like a money-making thing, and that's definitely happened in the last few years. It's kind of, it's been like a how do you say it? Like, it's kind of weeded out the people who aren't really in it for the right reasons, because maybe there hasn't been as much money to be made out of it than there was like a few years ago. So only the true people who are really in it for the right reasons are still doing it now.
In the early 90s, I used to listen to all sorts of music. My dad when I grew up in Australia, my dad used to DJ all around, playing sort of really raw New York style disco, as well as a little bit of commercial stuff as well. But he used to like mix it up and that. So it's the bug was always there, and I always had this massive record collection in my house. So I used to listen to all sorts of things. But there was, I think the first record I ever actually bought was Roger Sanchez as Underground Solution, Love Dancing. So I was buying stuff like that, and I think that was about '92. But there was all sorts of other stuff I was buying as well, like Nirvana and rock, all sorts of rock and stuff. But there was one CD, I think it came out in about '95, '96, which really just blew me away. It was the United DJs of America, Roger Sanchez CD. And from then I just sort of heard the way that you can mix things up and what can actually be done. Because at the time I was about 13, 14 years old, no, 14, 15. So I wasn't sort of really hitting the clubs or anything. I wasn't fully aware of what it was about. So that first couple of years, like trying to get that, and then there was the David Morales Ministry Sessions CD and things like that. Those first couple of mix compilations really gave me the bug and really locked it for me.
Cultural relevance. It's funny because I suppose it's like it started off as a black American gay thing, really, or with disco anyway, if I'm right in saying that, and then Chicago and Detroit and New York, but I think the UK, I think we've embraced it and made it our own and put our own slant on it, and all the big American DJs and heroes now, they love coming to the UK and working with UK labels. So, and I think it's part of our social structure here now. I think a lot of people are going out and love clubbing. Whether they may not have been into house music and probably just thought it was a noise, but when they go out and get a taste of it and they've worked hard all week, do you know what I mean? Slogging away in the office or in the factory or, whatever. And they can just go berserk at the weekend, become somebody else, recharge the batteries, let their hair down, and then get ready for another kind of hard week, back at the mill. So I think it plays a role in our society in a way of, just going out partying, letting it all hang out, and then thinking, okay, I'm ready to face another week.
I think the only cultural relevance is that it breaks down all cultural boundaries. I mean, everybody knows, this house is gay, house is straight, house is black, house is white. In that sense, I guess it has no cultural relevance at all.
As far as people's attitudes, people come to house parties to just rave, have a good time, enjoy themselves. It's not about what you're wearing, who you are, any of that crap, all it's about is coming out, having a good time, dancing and being into the music. It's not about the bling, it's just about being you. You ask any DJ from around the world, they love playing in London. Most of them, give their right arm to play in London. Obviously you get all the big DJs, Louis Vega, Tony Humphries, but the next guys down, that's where they want to be playing. London's had a massive impact, probably more so than any other place in the world on this music, so yeah, CD. Well, both, but CD definitely when travelling. I'll always bring a few old classics out of me when I'm playing, as you'll see tonight. Well, I suppose I've never fallen out of love with the music. I love it as much now as when I first got into it, and it's just my life, man. It's like that's all I really care about. You know, it's like what I say is I play out every weekend. I love doing what I'm doing, and at the end of the day, there's no better job out there, really.
What do you reckon we should be looking at for in the future?
As in DJs, producers? Well, I'm definitely seeing a big change in London at the moment. I mean, once upon a time there was like 1, 2 pirate stations playing house music. Now there's about 20, do you know what I mean? Not all of them are great, but they're starting to get it. So I do think in the next year or so, there's going to be an explosion in house music, definitely within London, but then obviously anything that happens in London filters throughout the rest of the country. But I do think it will go the same way as it did before, whereas the seas will separate. You're going to get the more ragga element getting involved and the more purist element. So, you know, I think it will be healthy for a little while, and then again it will branch off the way it did before. But it will keep reinventing itself, and it will keep evolving. You know. Yeah, pay me more money, bros. London's in the house.
You know, when you say house music is your life, but why? What is it about house music? Look at Calder.
Right, sorry.
What is it about like to say someone who don't know fuck all about house music, and like what is it that's like say this is a drug infested.
Well, it's one of those ones where before I was into house, I was into soul music, into rare groove, into a bit of reggae, you know. And when I first discovered house, it was about the feeling. There's that cliche saying, "House is a feeling," but the first time you walk into a house rave, and if it's a decent one, you'll know what I'm talking about. You walk in and everybody's at one, and it is a feeling. It's not, you know what I mean, there's no pretentiousness, there's no bullshit, it's just a feeling, you know, and you've got to be there to experience it. It's hard to put into words, but, you know, it's just a feeling. It's something that, from you take it on board, it is like a drug in itself. It's very hard to, you know, let go of that feeling of unity and how we are in the scene.
Also,
not London, New York, or anything to me. At the end of the day, a good DJ is a good DJ. You know, I love the London scene, but I love it if I go to New York. I love it if I go to Rome or Ibiza or wherever. You know, but we have got our own special little thing over here, which I embrace.
Relevance it's kind of hard because where hip hop is today is nowhere near what house is right now. You know, we don't go to clubs. There's not. You look at the ratio between a fight starting in a hip hop club and a fight starting in a house club. You can't compare it. You can't really compare it musically. I don't think you can compare it either. I think it's somewhat. In the beginning, it was somewhat similar. I think right now it's not as similar as it should be. I mean, there's real hip hop, and then there's hip hop, radio hip hop. You know, it's just a whole big argument. But if it was up to me, I can't say as far as the hip hop that's on the radio compared to what we're doing. No, if I have to say underground hip hop could compare to, you know, house music, probably. I'd say slightly. I wouldn't say as much. It's more music now involved with house music now than where it used to be before, where it was more simple. You know what I mean? But you know, I don't think there's a relevance really.
It does. I think it did more in the beginning stages. Similar to hip hop, you know, because hip hop at the time was something that was more sort of anti-establishment, you know, and you know, rebelling against what was going on in the environment, culturally rather. And house music was something where it was more of an expression for the people who felt they were repressed, you know, they couldn't get out to the clubs and be themselves. So I think those are the roots and the foundations of house music, and culturally speaking, yeah, I think it has almost as much of a cultural relevance as hip hop does, you know, just on a different level.
I think it does. It's hard though because I think it's missing a decent element of that because of the anonymity of the music. You know, hip hop is all about artists and albums, and dance music is all about singles and tracks and the dubs. You know, for the most part. I mean, you know, certainly there's songs, but it's, you know, there's the anonymity of house music that lends itself to the sort of less exposure and maybe less relevance. But it's the thing about it is that to the people that know it and love it, its relevance in their life is significant. You know, it's like people can be evangelical about this music. You know, with the fans that are out there and the punchers and the people that love it and that go out and that enjoy it and that dance and have fun, look forward to it. You know, search it out, listen to it. It's something that people take to, and I think that it's got to have some significance. I mean, if anything, its impact on the world as a whole has helped people. You know, when you're surrounding yourself with positive music and going out to places that are playing positive music and you enjoy it and you are aligning yourself to it, and you're going to probably feel a little more positive, and so maybe your impact on the world will be a little more positive. As you carry yourself throughout the day, you'll be singing along to a song rather than, you know, feeling angry and aggressive from some song, a different style of music or whatever. So I think its impact is there. I mean, is it documented? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, you know, hip-hop as a culture, as the support of radio, the media, specifically, you know, videos, MTV, and radio being second. That's, you know, there's more cultural significance in that, in the sense of people wanting to emulate the style of the clothing, people wanting to emulate the style of the dress, the talk, how they, whatever, you know, like what they're doing, what they're driving, you know, all that. You know, because it can drive it home through the media. You know, on a large scale, is house music have cultural significance? I don't know. I mean, to house music community, yes, it does. But it's, again, it goes back to the positive nature of the music. It's about being inclusive, and it's like, you know, I play these places and I see these mix of people in the crowd. It's not this homogenous group of one style. Whether, you know, I mean, there's people that are, you know, older and younger and everything in between, and people that look a certain way and that look different, and they're all down there having a good time together. It's not the type of thing that, you know, lends itself to be alienating or you know, discriminating. I mean, it's pretty much like, you know, hey, we're here, you know, come enjoy it with us, is the mentality. And I think that that's something that, you know, people take seriously and it has an impact on their lives, but I think because it's that free, I don't know if it's necessarily something that has this big cultural impact. I mean, the music is not necessarily political. It's, you know, I mean, and there's a lot more political styles of music out there. There's, you know, it's just about, you know, letting loose and having fun and forgetting about the politics for a while, for a couple hours. You know, when you go out, you get the rest of the time to read the newspaper and to listen to the radio and watch TV and hear about the plights of what's happening and how bad the world from the mind of Bush is, or whatever you want to think. But for those couple of hours, you know, you don't have to. And I think that impact has got to have cultural significance, and it certainly does to those who are involved in house music. You know, the larger scale, I guess that remains to be seen. So anyway, I mean, I just, you know, I slowly but surely made my way to house music, and, you know, was continually DJing in clubs and just kept going from there. But you know, I just liked it. I don't know. I mean, I just really liked the energy of the music and this, you know, the stuff that was happening, and I would say that I really fell in love in like '93, about '93. From '93 to '95 is when I fell in love with house music, and you know, when you know, there was songs and music and production. You know, the stuff back then was really intricately well produced and not just thrown together like some stuff can be today. And you know, I just stayed with it and I love it. I mean, I think the underlying message to house music is that kind of what I described, in that it's a very fun, happy, uplifting type of music. It's, you know, it's like, to me, a lot of it, especially the stuff that I produce, it's up-tempo love songs. I mean, it's up-tempo R&B. It's danceable R&B. It's, you know, with you know, with positive things. You know, sometimes the lyrics are positive, but, you know, dumb, but nonetheless positive. You know, feel it on the dance floor, yeah, whatever. You know, whatever. It's still like a positive message. You know. And I think that that's the underlying thing, is it's like, you know, like, this is a music to enjoy, to sort of uplift your soul, to, you know, to help you forget about the troubles and tribulations of your life. And, you know, it's not like a genre of music that, you know, talks about the, you know, like hip hop, you know, it's, you know, documenting inner city plights and stuff, and people can relate to that. It's more about like people relating to the possibility of finding love and happiness and enjoying and feeling free, and you know, so it's about a different direction of people. It's about them relating to what's possible rather than relating to where they are, and I think that that's, you know, one of the appeals of it. You know, certainly from the people that use those words, like, I'm glad I found it, I'm glad I discovered it, you know, that's the impact it seems to have on people, is that, you know, it's something that can bring them that release or excitement or love, and just free, and just have fun. And it's positive. I mean, it's like this rarely...
The vocalists in house music come from a gospel church background, so that's kind of sometimes subliminally in the music, so people, there's good messages being sent out lyrically in the songs, and just the vibe and the musicality of a lot of it is quite uplifting and soulful, so it's not, you know, I say the message that's there is a positive message, and it's not like an angry thing. It's something that's kind of like a unified unity kind of thing, where it's like, you know, certain people doing house music and producing, singing house songs, and they're doing it in a way where they're projecting that kind of unity thing between the scene and house music, and that's been there for years. You know, you listen to a lot of the old records, listen to the lyrics, and there's a lot of people talking about the kind of the vibe and the unity of house music. So I think that's the main message which is sent out with it, is a positive thing, like I said.
Uplifting, you know, it's always been a message of positivity, you know, and really just happiness, you know. You know, I think they've mixed it up over the years with a couple of different references and sounds and things, yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, overall, it's always it's always more about partying and feeling good, you know. That's right. Yeah.
There's so many different doors in this genre. That's why I kind of love it, because, you know, it's never really standing still. There's so many different styles. You know, it all depends what you're listening to. You know, there's a message in everybody's music. You know, it's just who you're listening to right now. You know, I think there is. You know, a lot of times when I make records, there's a message in it. So.
Yeah, I think the media have turned around, especially, you know, with like music TV or stuff like Top of the Pops before. They were saying like house music's dead, we don't want to support it and whatever. And then, you know, at the end of the day, they turn around and there'd be 3 dance records in the top 10. Do you know what I mean? Or even number ones. We've had some big Lola's theme and stuff like that. I mean, you know, so I think they tried to say it was dead. You know, and the media is very powerful. I mean, they can control. I mean, that's like the new church, the TV, right? Propaganda, you know, and people just go along with it and believe it. But it was just a big lie that I think they wanted to believe it was that they tried to kill it, but like, nah, it's not happening, man. House music is alive and well. And
it's been dead. They've been saying it's been dead for years. I mean, It's amazing how something just seems to be around. It's a zombie or something. I mean, I haven't, you know, I'm still like working all over the place. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's dead to them. You know, maybe it's dead to whoever the media or these people are saying it is. But for most of my friends and the people who enjoy it, it's not going anywhere. I think whoever enjoyed the trend and it doesn't enjoy it anymore, like it just came in because it was a fashion statement, and they're leaving it. Maybe they're thinking it's dead. But for the people who love house, it's not going any damn well. It's been what? Jesus Christ. almost fucking 20, 30. My label's been running for 20 years. It's like,
I'd say it's not dead. I mean, it's like saying disco is dead. It's, you know, people will always want to go out and dance and have fun. It's just a name that may be dead, but the music is there.
No, I don't think it's true. I think usually the people who say that are the people who were in the business for a while, and they're the ones that suck the life out of it to begin with. But like I said, I've been doing this professionally now since 1991, and here we are, 2006. I'm still doing it. Can't be dead.
People have said house music is dead. It's funny. House music vinyl sales is pretty much dead, and dying quickly, barely holding on. House music as a genre of music that people enjoy, I don't see any signs of it being dead. If anything, the same thing that has caused vinyl sales to drop is the same thing that's built more fans. You know, the gigs that I'm doing and my friends are doing are getting better and better and bigger and more fun, you know, through the years. But meanwhile, the vinyl sales have dropped. You know, back in the day, there was people that didn't DJ, that loved this music, that went to record stores and owned one turntable, and that played their music, and, you know, and that was that. Now they don't have to do that. So the average, you know, the majority of the DJs that make up the charts and that, you know, travel the world, you know, 80% of the music they're getting for free. Promos from other producers, from labels that they've worked with, mixed CDs for, I mean, you know, they're getting that stuff. So those people aren't really buying it. The DJs that are up and coming that, you know, are, you know, a bit newer at it, just starting to get into production, just starting to DJ, starting to travel a little bit, they're buying it. And that's where the records still stay. You know, we're still selling 1,000 to 2,000 to those people. The fans are getting it elsewhere.
The dance scene is dead. Wow, where have I not heard that before? You tell me, man. I don't know. I laugh when people say that. I don't know. To answer that question is let the people say that it's dead. You know, I don't know. I'm just so tired of people saying it's dead and it's dead. Yet the same people who say it's dead, you see them having a drink at the party that you're doing. Those are the type of people you just gotta leave alone. You know. I don't worry about that question. I say it's alive. I say it's gonna be big. I see big things for this business, real big. I believe in this business. I see great things happening. I see a future in this business. I see this business blossoming. I don't see nothing but positives for this genre. So I'm not worried about people saying it's dead. The people who are saying that it's dead are just gonna be walking amongst themselves. They'll be lost. It's cool. Yeah.
Come on, girl. Show them you got skills. Bring it to the club. Come on. Who's Mr. V? Who's Alexandre? Go check music. Yeah, alright. That's whack. I only like this one record that they did. It's called The Hump. That's the only thing I like. Yeah, it sounds like this. I like it, you know. It's cool. That's the only thing. Yeah, I'm eating. Come on.
We're gonna do a song that you never heard before, that you never tried before, that you never felt before. We're gonna do a song that you never heard before, that you never tried before, that you never.
I think that technology's a good thing. To be honest with you, house music is really based around technology because it was like the punk thing got rid of all the guitar heroes and that, and it didn't matter if you could play or not. It was just about making a noise and energy. And then with the electronic keyboards that come along, like, you know, the 101, the you know, which Acid House is made from, it was kind of making musicians redundant, and any kid in his bedroom could get a drum machine and a sampler and start twiddling knobs and playing around. And this is how this kind of music, you know, organically kind of grew from just experimenting with these new pieces of equipment that were being released. I think you'll always find that, and you can hear the changes in the music. Do you know what I mean? With what keyboards are coming out, what software's coming out, how the technology's changing. You know, samplers were kind of getting replaced with you know, hard drives and recording audio and manipulating audio that way. And now with the plugins and software and that, it plays a very important role. I think the MP3 thing is a good thing, as long as people don't continue to illegally download, because the musicians and the producers and the artists are suffering. You know, greatly record sales are down and that. But I mean, CDs have, I never thought to the day this would happen, but now I can't imagine a world without CDJs and CDs. It's so much easier, you know, especially if you're a producer, because you don't have to cut dub plates anymore at 30, 50 quid a time. You know, you just put your CD in, bang, you got your fresh tracks, you got your re-edits, you know, you can test them out on the crowd. You haven't got big bags to lug around with vinyl and all that kind of headache. So it's having a positive effect, but we've got to stop the illegal downloading. Support the artists. Send all your money and checks to this number. You're going to put a number up there, right? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's cool. I think it's something we all need to adjust to. I think it's something that we can't put away. It's something that we all have to accept. It's the future. It's funny because we all want easy. Everyone wants easy. Everyone wants life easy. They want money to come easy. They want to live easy. You know, going digital, it's bound to happen. You know, when the future happens, some people will stay behind. Some people will roll with what it is. You know, some people like it. Some people won't. I don't know. For me, it's you got to take it for what it is. You have to adjust to change. You know, it's part of the way of life. It's part of your cycle. It's what you do. You know, you don't stay young forever. You know, you have to change. So you have to go with what's hot right now. You know, so I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. You know, I'm pretty sure there are problems now which will be fixed soon. Everyone's suffering because of digital downloading. Everyone. I'm not just talking about indie labels. I'm talking about major labels as well. You know, it's something that we're all going to have to adjust to, you know, but it's something that's not avoidable, you know.
Well, I don't know, you know, it's a hard one, man. It's like, there's two arguments to that story, really. It's good in some ways because it means that certain people who couldn't buy vinyl, who haven't got access to record stores, can buy, download tracks. But those people are also swapping tracks with their friends, and like you get DJs who used to be the people who keep the scene alive because they'd be out buying records every week and they'd be spending £100 a week on records. Those DJs are now swapping MP3s with their mates, so they're not buying records anymore. So unwittingly, they're actually helping the decline of the scene in the sense of record sales. So in that sense, it's kind of bad. But this year, I'm feeling a lot more people are being good with kind of not swapping MP3s. And I think a lot more labels and producers aren't giving out records too early, so they're only going to be out on MP3 like a week or 2 weeks before the vinyl release, so you still got a good balance of vinyl sales and MP3 downloads. But you know, really, that whole thing, I see it really making, you know, 5 years from now, I think it'll 98% is going to be digital. Everyone's going to be, it's going to be files, downloads. I mean, but there'll always be that physical thing of having a record and having a sleeve that I think people will miss. And then maybe what will happen in 10 years from now, there'll be like a resurgence and vinyl will come back round and it'll be like, you'll want that physical entity, you know, because everything will just be a file and it's like, you haven't actually got anything there. It's just like a bit of information. Do you know what I mean? So I think, we'll see, I don't know. It's one of those things you can never tell how it's going to go, really. There might be a new format that comes out or something like that, man. Do you think eventually?
You know, that new media, the internet, you know, MP3s and the quality of that has made the music open up to a wider range of people, but it's diminished the record sales. So if you look at what's selling vinyl, you talk to a distributor or all the record shops going out of business, you think house music is dead. So I can see where the mentality of that comes from, you know, but the music is more relevant and more out there and more available now than it was before, and there's more fans of it as well. You know, the fan base is growing. The sales aren't. You know, I mean, I think CD sales have definitely still been doing good, albeit a lot lower than they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but they're still, you know, they're still holding on, but vinyl is, you know, it's pretty much, you know, paled in comparison. And that media has also affected has affected the music in another way, in that the software and computer speeds and the quality that people can do. I mean, you know, you can buy a new Macintosh and get, you know, GarageBand on it, and make your songs, you know, in it, with prepackaged loops and riffs and, you know, all the parts you need to make a record. And, you know, I mean, that's sort of like the lower end of the scheme, but, you know, there's all kinds of software packages that have made the technology grow, the tips and tricks grow, the way that people are using it, you know, has grown. At the same time, it's allowed for a lot more people to enter it as a hobby, to just have fun, which is a good thing.
I think it's just everything takes evolution, and everything goes to the next phase. I think the thing is, it's like it's getting out. I mean, I'll go way back. I mean, it's just like any other thing. When we were like in clubs, it's a lot easier to get this across, like MP3s and things, because people, you can just email you a track, or I instant messenger you a track or something now. The thing is, way back, we used to just use reel-to-reels to play on. After that, it was like cassettes with pictures, you know. CD decks just started coming out, you know. There's things, I mean, it didn't matter what it was. If we could play it, we'd play it at a club. And all of us used to get acetates. So it's pretty much the same kind of thing. Only difference is it's so much easier now to just buy like 100 pack of CDs and, you know, throw them out. In ways it's good, and in ways it's bad, because it's like you get flooded with so much stuff you can barely listen.
Yeah, sure.
But at the same time, it's really interesting to see where the media actually goes. I think it's at the stage now where no one knows how to control it, but when they do, it's going to be an insane thing. When they figure that part out, anyway. You know, even starting off, when I did some of my first productions, which I think is still really, really cool, like my Get It Off and all of these other things. When I originally did those, it was just a sequence on a 4-track. You know, that's all I had at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and those are like my biggest songs. I think it's a matter of who's involved and who's actually putting the production down with it. I mean, if you're going to have somebody just coming in initially and just like put some stuff down, I always call it scrapple. Yeah. You know, that's what it sounds like. If you don't, you know, if you're just trying out and you want to play your own tracks, that's great. You know, if you want to do your own thing, do it. But if it works for like who it is, I mean, for musicians, it's wonderful. You can put a whole layout in. You can, you know, it doesn't take as much time as it used to. You have to sit there and stripe an entire tape and, you know, go back and record everything on a multi-track. It takes away from the live element, I found. And, you know, a lot of these things that, you know, it's really, the other thing I've noticed, it's a lot easier. And it's a lot simpler. And a lot, you know, by yourself, you can make a track up. You don't have to deal with nobody. This is that, that. In a way, it takes away from vocals, you know. The hardest thing in the world to do is get a good song and a good vocal and a great arrangement. It's like now all we have now are big breaks. Everything's a fucking break. You know, it's easier to take a loop or make a simple 3-chord thing and break, done. It's a lot simpler. I mean, it's fun, but after a while, it's like it's gonna take away. You know, it's just, you know, no one's gonna be like, oh, it's not, there's no, you know. And it's only like a few people that will make songs and things that actually stick and things that stay around. And it you know, for every two vocals, there's like 20 tracks. You know, and it's really hard to kind of pick through all of that stuff. And when you're trying to program stuff in the night and DJ with it, it's tough. You know, so then you have to kind of go back and play something else that was a cool vocal before, and you know, it's a weird thing. Yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. There's some cool things that happen, but everybody seems to wait until like Miami to make that stuff. You know, and then it's just like maybe later in the year before the new year, you know. So yeah, but until then, it's like you got to kind of hunt and dig and scratch, and you know.
What's your now makes it easier for kids to make music, so that's a good thing. But some of it, it's not at a level where their music is going to sound as good as other people's, so they're going to be stuck with that thing. They made a track and it sounds cool when they play it at home and stuff, it sounds nice. Play it in the club next to another track, the DJ's mixing it and that record comes in and it's not going to sound so good. So there's ups and downs with that one, you know. Everyone's got their opinion. I mean, there's a lot of kids using these software programs, but I'm not really the biggest fan of those kind of cheaper programs. I think you've got to bite the bullet. If you're going to make music, you've got to kind of, I mean, the great thing is now you can do most of it with software and a computer, so you don't need a lot of space. You don't need to buy lots of outboard gear. You need a good computer. But if you're going to use all the software, just make sure it's the good software and you're not using the cheaper side of things. But you know, some people don't have the money to buy these more professional kind of software programs. So you've got to go with what you can get, and it's better to go with the satin than nothing. So.
You know, house music, like the original house music from Chicago, wouldn't be known today if London didn't play a huge part in it. I mean, you know, it would have stayed in Chicago if the DJs from London wouldn't bring it here and do the first raves and the first like special club parties they would promote like 15 years ago.
Well, for me, the London scene was something that was like it was mythified for us in New York growing up, because we heard about, you know, also when I was buying records at the time when I was younger. Most of the hottest records that we would buy were all imports coming from the UK, from London.
It was vice versa for us.
You see, so for us it was a big deal. You know, London was our big sister. You know, as far as a lot of other things are concerned, also culturally and all that other stuff. So the London house scene, important. You know, really important. I think they go hand in hand. I don't think we would have had our scene without the London house scene, and vice versa.
Always alive here, you know. You can come in '95, you can come today. The club is always packed. You can be in London, you can be in Southport, you can be in Manchester, everywhere, you know. You have the same people that share the same thing, and that's the good thing in UK, because people in UK know how to make party first, and this is unfortunately not the same around the world. I think the good thing in England, with the culture that you have, you can have many kind of music, you know, electro, clash, rock, you know, and people don't go to the fashion things and let the house music know. The good thing in England that there is place for every music, and that's the force of England, that they are really interesting about they are really curious, and that's the good thing. London, I'll tell you what's unique about London, the prices of a round. I'll get these in, I'm in, okay, 7 vodka Red Bulls, and if you're up in Birmingham, I tell you what, you've got a few pounds left in your pocket. But London, nah man, Ministry of Sound, Fabric, Soul Heaven, you know, Defected, MN2S, parties, you know, and others. Sorry if I've left anybody out. Money Pennies in Birmingham, Super Club that's still going. Yeah, I mean, they're important. They're known worldwide. Their music compilations are, you know, worldwide. So we definitely know how to put a good party on down in London, and has made a great impact and is very important to the scene. I think fueling it almost, you know, leading the way, pioneers.
I say the London scene, I think we're really, really, really lucky with the amount of parties that we have that go on every week, you know. I mean, when I travel, I kind of realise you go to other cities and there's a few little things happening, but like in London you can have a weekend where there's like, maybe 10 parties in a weekend that are all slamming parties. Like big DJs from America, from wherever, not just America, but you don't get that in other parts of the world. You won't ever have like Timmy Regisford and Frank Feliciano or whoever on the same night. It would never happen, but we can do that in London, and both clubs can be filled. So it means that, you know, London's got something that other cities haven't got, and it's the scene, man. It's the people, and the most important thing is the people who are going to go out to the music. And one negative point on the London scene, it's a bit, when I go to New York and Miami, places like that, I think the crowd tend to actually dance more, and they feel the music a little bit more. Not they feel the music, that's the wrong way to put it, but they just let go a little bit more, and they'll totally freestyle when it comes to the dancing. And you kind of, I see that a lot more in New York and, like I said, Miami, places, LA, Marcus White's Club Deep in LA. Kind of refreshing to see that, because in London a lot of people, they're there, they're dancing, they're having a good time, but it's not like they're really, really passionately dancing. And they're there to do other things, to be social and to drink and to do whatever. Whereas a lot of other places, there's people that are there solely to dance, to feel the music in their body and their whole, you know, to let it take them, which sometimes don't happen here, which I wish it did. Certain places and certain people, I'm not, you know, it's a bit of a generalisation, but that's something.
The interesting thing, you know, London has had, you know, took to this music early on. It's not uncommon for, you know, hits on the radio here to be dance music. And that's actually cycling back around again, which is great for house music. So there's a pretty long history of it here. The energy of the last couple of years of coming here has been really good. The energy before that almost felt a little bit like, we're London, we've had this music for a long time, you're not really impressing us, we're really kind of too cool to get into it and have a good time because we got into it and had a good time years ago. And here we go out and it's house music and stuff, but we're not like, it's not new to us, you know, we're too cool, you know? But lately it's definitely, like last couple of years, it's kind of felt like a, you know, rejuvenating thing, and maybe that's because of the production. Maybe it's because of the music that people are making that's inspiring people, or maybe it's just because, you know, who knows. But the energy's been a lot more like enthusiastic, it seems, you know. I mean, certainly, you know, the fact that this, I mean, there's a lot of people here, there's a lot of good clubs here, there's, you know, a lot of world-renowned clubs here, world-renowned media around dance music here, world-renowned labels out of dance music here. You know, the global dance music industry kind of vibrates here the most. I mean, certainly it's influenced by places like New York or San Francisco or all over nowadays, you know, but you know, it really vibrates here a lot. And I think that, you know, over the last couple of years, that energy has also been put back into the people who are going out. But for a while there, I remember saying to people, it's like, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's weird in London. Maybe I was just playing the wrong places, but you know what I mean? It was like, people weren't, like, I'd go to these other places and people would be like, you know, woohoo, and it didn't necessarily have to be a popular song, just a good one. If it was a good song, people responded. And here, it's like, you know, if it's not a popular song, people don't respond. You know. It was. Now it's, like I said, the last couple of years, it's been like on par with some of the best places to play in the world, you know, with a musical sensibility of the people that is beyond most places. The, you know, people that know the music and understand the music, and not just the other DJs that are in the crowd, but the people that are there, the girls in particular, that are singing along, that know the music, that understand the music, that like it. I mean, that's on, you know, on a level here that you don't find very many places. You know, the music is more relevant culturally here in London, you know, with it being on advertising and used in advertising, and with, like I said, with some of these hits being mixed in with the R&B and pop hits of the radio days, you know, of your guys' charts and the, you know, the videos and MTV and all that, you know, has more of that in it, and therefore it's, you know, people are more into it here. They're more exposed to it. But the energy lately has been good. You know, and so, you know, it's kind of all those things that make it different. I mean, it's such a rich and vibrant place for this style. It's been here a long time. It really sort of like, you know, yeah, you know, people say it wasn't created here or whatever they want to say about house music in and of itself, but certainly it was made here on a global scale, like embraced here, populated here, marketed well here. You know, for years all the major labels had dance music divisions here. You know. And that was just something that didn't happen in any other place, you know. So the energy for this music is here. It's vibrant, it's alive, and the music industry for this music is here. Pretty much, you know, like New York and LA has hip hop. When it comes to house music, the house music industry is in London for the most part, in the UK. Yeah. It's extremely globally significant. I mean, you know, I hear it from as far away as Australia, where, you know, people over there say, you know, we look to London and to the scene in London and what's, you know, what's happening, and you know, it seems like songs that are big here then will be big there, and then even later will be big in the States. You know. Yeah. and even if it's a song that's from the States, but if it gets picked up by a UK label and becomes popular here, it certainly is going to go around the world in a different direction in terms of popularity. It seems like songs, the real big dance music hits in the US of the last 5 to 7 years, the big ones that have become pop, took them 1.5 to 2 years to really get that way in the US. Whereas it was 4 or 5 months in the UK, 6 months in the UK, 8 months in Australia or whatever. Like they can be hits there, and do it. And that that's a big part of the significance, like I described. It is a global significance. The media's here, the labels are here, the magazines are here, and focused here. And those magazines have Spanish versions, but still they started here.
I mean, you have a strong tradition of just performers coming out of England and being big. I mean, just to start with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, whether it's not particularly black music or dance oriented, but there is this tradition of people performing in pubs and in clubs here, which I believe is quite unique. And the kids who are DJs today are the spiritual sons of the people who would play in pubs like 20 years ago, and it's sort of coming back full cycle again, where there's a strong rock scene, independent rock music scene now, which is getting big outside of the UK, and the DJs are sort of going back to just playing in the clubs, and so it's just healthy. But it's very strong in the sense that music has always attracted the youth here more than anywhere else that I know.
In the UK. The thing is with London, I don't know why this is, but every time I come back, there's a different style of music. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is this week or this month or
fashion.
Yeah, it's like it tends to label something. It seems like house anyway to me. One week it's, I don't know, two-step. Next ring is now it's electro. I haven't been here, so now it's electro. And it's been 4 months. It wasn't electro last time I was here.
We're all still doing what we were doing.
Yeah, it's but it's really strange how it goes into cycles, man. It's just bizarre to me. Yeah, it's just like I don't know what's going to be next. I mean, it could be anything. Next is going to be I don't know, maybe some kind of break house fusion or something. I mean, anything. I don't know what it's going to be. I guess I have to look at a trendy magazine and see what they call it for the week. The one thing I do like about here that you don't really get back in the States is the radio here. I mean, it shifts around a lot, but it's always, I love the pirate stations. They're fun. Can I say that? Yeah, of course. Yeah, fucking hell. The pirate stations are mad. And that's the one thing I wish we could do, homie. They'll come in we're going out like this the whole time. But if the music is out there, it'll get across somehow over here, and I love that idea. It's just it's underground, but it's gonna surface. So
I think we just gotta appreciate what we've got here, because there's a lot of places in the world, like I said, that don't have so many clubs, and don't have so many outlets for this music, and I think we've got to appreciate it, and everyone's got to help support it. Go to the clubs, buy the records, download the MP3s legally, and yeah, just enjoy it for what it is, because like I said, sometimes, and like you said, sometimes people take it for granted, and you've got to really appreciate it, because it is something special that we've got in London. People like me and you and other DJs coming through, and pirate radio DJs, there's options for them. A lot of people, a lot of places in the world, these DJs who are on our level, and they can't work because there's no clubs. So we've got to appreciate that there's clubs here. Even some of the bigger DJs in their hometown, they don't work. They work everywhere else, but in their hometown, it's kind of it's hard for them to work. So.
Reminds you of back home, except they're a bit more open-minded to a lot of things. I'm starting to notice a very big similarity to back home here. I kind of feel back at home, seeing a lot of things that's going on here in London.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, girl. Show them you got skills. Bring it to the club. Come on. Who's Mr. V? Who's Alex Alvarez? Go check out music. Yeah, alright. That's whack. I only like this one record that they did. It's called The Hump. That's the only thing I like. Yeah, it sounds like this. I like it, you know. It's cool. That's the only thing. Yeah, I mean it. Come on.
We're gonna do a song that you never heard before, that you never tried before, that you never felt before. We're gonna do a song that you never heard before, that you never tried before, that you never felt.
man. Songs always inspire me. Songs it's a big part of the music for me, you know. It's songs are never going to be kind of things that get dated necessarily, and they'll always be the things that the individual with the records. Because you can have a drum program, a drum pattern, and you can have a bass line, and they all can kind of end up sounding the same. But if you've got a song, and it's an original song, then it's going to be unique. So songs inspire me. People, DJs, when I'm playing out and there's people really getting down, it's like that's really inspiring. And yeah, doing the radio show that I do and getting the response and the emails, that's really inspiring to me. And yeah, you know, when there's other DJs playing my records or remixes, that just, you know, it keeps the fire burning. So it's good, man.
What inspires me to do music? My son, my wife, my fans, my partner. You know, countless people who love this business. I think what helps me continue doing what I'm doing is just that I'm not alone doing it. And I'm not talking about having Alex or having my family, meaning that there are thousands of people out there who feel the same way, who live for this music, who love this music, you know, and there's a meaning for it. You know, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a purpose. So, you know, that's
I think inspiration probably comes from just life, really, and friends and family, and obviously other producers. I mean, people like Mr. V and Alex Alvarez, obviously Kenny and Louis. But then I can listen to John Coltrane, you know what I mean, from like, you know, a 50s Miles Davis album and get inspired by that. I don't think I go out looking for inspiration, but obviously certain things do have an effect on you when it comes out in the music, as long as you're trying to keep it real. As soon as I've got this kind of like ka-ching dollar sign head on, when I'm trying to manufacture the next big hit, never happens. It's just rubbish. Just go in there and just let whatever's going on around you just come out in the music. You know what I mean? Then, yeah, it happens, but I don't know where it comes from. I don't sit in a field like going, meditating and trying to draw on some energy or anything. But I suppose just what's going on around you, good and bad, and just try and channel it into something positive.
I make this stuff up. It's not like I'm trying to follow anything. I just try to do what sounds good to me. And if it works, great. If it doesn't,
it's like I still play Inspiration now, and it still gets the same reactions as it did back in '94, '95. You know, so
yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah,
I think the same thing again with Ben. The first time, everyone always asks me like, how in the hell did I come up with the chord structure? The first time I've ever seen anybody even play it, like come close. This guy here, scared the hell out of me. I turned around, I'm like, oh my God, somebody finally figured out how to play it. Oh, this is weird. And I have a problem with like just weird stuff. I mean, damn, what's the best way to describe it? I build a lot of my stuff, so
really,
yeah. If I get something and I wanted to do just one extra thing, I'll rip it open and just like, okay, where's my soldering iron? Let's, yeah. Yeah, like on this trip, I wish I would have did it here because it'll work here really well. I wish I would have did it here with the laser thing, which I was telling them, yeah.
It syncs up to your.
Yeah, like it syncs up. I could have been doing remixes with the lasers while I was just standing. That's one. And then the other thing was like I can take the other computer out and do all of this, you know. I can mix it in midair and sounds weird, but when I do it, when you actually see it, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Yeah. One girl, when I did it originally, I used to carry around like this drum module when I did the lasers. That's the first time I really tried it at Cargo. And this girl thought, that, oh, he's playing a CD. He's not really doing that. No, it's impossible. No. I said, well, go ahead and try it. Cut the beam with your hand. Go ahead. And, you know, everybody's playing. The whole band's up. And she just said, but the shit went through the club. It was like, what are you doing? She said, oh my, she just jumped up. Oh my God, it is for real. It's real. It's real. I was just like, see that. It was funny. It was really funny.
No, this is New York, this is London, this is Chicago, this is LA, this is South Africa, this is Greece, this is beyond what anybody believes. This is in every country, you know, rural places, you know, Singapore, Australia. We're all over the place. You know, it's only a matter of time until we're heard, you know, if we're not heard already. But, you know, we're not dead. We're very much alive, you know, so I see good things. This future's gonna be good. So I'm not worried whatsoever. Country at this point right now that plays house music, believes in it, and, you know, definitely loves the genre is significant. You look at South Africa, you know, when we mention that, people just don't believe until we show the videos and they see the hundreds of thousands of people who really love this thing. You know, it really brightens up your day and it shows that this thing is growing. You know? So yeah, there is a significant, I think every country, not just London, I think everywhere, anywhere that plays it and believes in what we do, there is.
Not really, but I like what's happening in Scandinavia. People like Lindström is quite interesting. Also like the sumo guys, like, you know, can come up with interesting stuff. Who else is, I like Danny Wong, who's very particular with his music and very knowledgeable. You know, the good old pioneers like Masters of Work can still deliver some good stuff. So really, there's a lot of people, you know, new and old, who still have some faith in the music they do, and you can hear it, and it's good. You know, the London producer that I rate the most for me is the, you know, UK's disco producer, Joey Negro, really. I mean, you know, we fight on getting the same record, so we got to know each other and appreciate each other's work. Other than that, I mean, I think Phil Asher is doing pretty good. He's been there for a while. DJ Pete from BB is a pretty good guy that I enjoy playing with. I'm not super familiar with the local scene because, you know, I'm from another country, and unless those guys, you know, have like a record that just crosses over the border, I hear of them. But you probably have a lot of kids that are doing great here, which I've never heard of, but I should.
What I can tell you about the track, it's actually, what I've done was anytime I make a track, I put what I've done personally into it. And Baritone is actually a place in Toulouse. And what it is it's actually a place called Baritone, and it's an after party. Me, Dennis, and Jovan, and who else was there? It's Blaze. All of us were there in this bar. It was really amazing. And it's a festival called Sun Slice, and that's actually what it is, the Sun Slice Festival EP. That's actually I just put down the Sun Slice EP. And what happened was, right after the festival, we were all outside. You know, it's almost like it's a big event kind of. But I always we had there's a band from Cuba playing behind me, and we just brought them all down. And Dennis is back there. It was beautiful. And you're watching the sun go down, and then, you know, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. So after all of this stuff is done in the big event, and it was like a big street fair when we were all done, on the floor. I got to the point where it's I saw it for a couple of days because I was there. I told them, forget this, take everything off the stage, because I'm a nut. I always try to do something just a little different. So I'm taking everything off the stage. Let's go down on the floor with all the people. I like it better that way. It was unreal. Everybody was just jamming, and everybody would come up and do something, and Josh would start singing, or it was just nuts. So then after this, we had an after party at Barberton. And this is the fun part. This is where every sound I use is actually a sound that I thought of. Every
cowbell.
Yeah, this is where the cowbell thing comes in. This is where it gets really funny.
Everyone can tell on my look.
This is where it gets really, really, really strange, because I really don't like cowbells. I don't. I don't like cowbells, and it's just it's an inside joke kind of between me and Dennis, right? But what happened was, in Barberton, there's a couple of decks. You know, the place isn't that big, but it's not that small either. It kind of just goes off into different corridors. It was packed after this thing, because everybody knew we were coming back to the after party. And honest to God, there was a cowbell in there. And there's a microphone, 2 turntables, a mixer, and this cowbell. And there's 1 drumstick, right? So we're just like Dennis's thing is called a drumstick, a light fixture, maybe a cowbell or something. All of that is a real meaning. What happened was, there's this cowbell, and somebody's holding a microphone, and me and Dennis are trying to outdo each other with this fucking cowbell. Ding, 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 ding. He'd do a solo, he'd hold the cowbell, and I'm like, nah, you're weak. Flip it around. We're beating on this cowbell. Everybody's going, yeah. So me and Dennis are trying to outdo each other with this fucking cowbell with 1 drumstick. Just right. So Dennis does one better, because when we're together, we're just crazy, just really fucking crazy. So he stands up on the bar table, and there's a light, like a lamp fixture, and it's like glass, and it starts going ding, 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 ding. Somebody's holding the mic up to it. They actually have pictures of this thing. So the crowd's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, you got me, you bastard. And I'm looking at him like, I said, how is this thing? I mean, he's banging on this shit hard, with this drumstick. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't this goddamn thing breaking? It's gonna break. I said, he's crazy. He must be drunk or something. This shit just. There's a part in Barberton where it goes, psh. The shit, he hit it one time. The light's on, right? He hit the thing. The damn thing exploded all over the bar. Just like, psh. Yeah. But everyone's like, yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ, what kind of place is this? But that's what it was. It's just a wave of people up and down, and all the sounds in the Barberton, even with the crashing beat up thing and all. that's what the song meant to me. Every sound has a
Kerry,
has
did
a
you,
sense of something.
Did you do that song just and that your sound's dated?
Is disco dated? Is funk dated?
I think that, I mean, people enjoy what they enjoy. I can't kick them. I think the worst thing in the world is for somebody not to make their own mind up about their own sound, or a sound. I'm not going to kick anything as long as it sounds good.
I got a good track coming out on Milk and Two Sugars called Dirty Funk. We Can Do with the vocal that Barbara took upon, who's a fantastic person, wonderful singer. I'm very privileged to, have worked with her, one of my heroes. As we speak, I'm in the studio with Aaron Ross and Tony Economides, mixing down a track I've called Intensity that I've done as Soul Central with my partner Andy Ward, who couldn't be with us. He's living in Spain in the lap of luxury. And that's coming out on Soul Heaven Records. Again, great to be associated with a quality setup like Soul Heaven. So a few things, trying to keep busy. See if that will go back to window cleaning. And I don't like heights. I can only clean the downstairs windows. And you don't get, my round is really small, man. I had about 4 people that took pity on me.
Don't forget, check me out on MySpace, www.myspace.com/DJMRV, or you can see me soulchannel.com. Holla at your boy.
Have you heard of Cosmic Cash yet?
What is that?
Cosmic Cash.
No, is that for real? Or
I don't know.
It's probably gonna be like that, some kind of thing with no beat and just sounds like house. A bunch of keyboard sounds with no drums or something crazy.
I don't know if someone was wondering.
Yeah, Cosmic and just some one key note.
The C and that's it.
Yeah.